Hare Krishna, can somebody lead the invocation prayers?
Prabhuji, may I try this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Om Anyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunalitam Jana Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vande Ham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavscha Sri Rupam Sagradam Saha Gana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sa Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostube Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhaya Ivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So today we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, verse 26 to 33, as well as Canto 1, Chapter 5, verses 1 to 15. Before that, I will first bring up inquiries on screen and answer the inquiries, as well as these tracking points and just the tracking points, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, let's see. So the first point is from our last class, the inquiry we had that which Vishnu is in charge of the mode of goodness. I request that if we can please park this inquiry as to which Vishnu is in charge of the mode of goodness, because last week I heard a lecture where there was a brief mention that it is Kshirodakshai Vishnu in charge of the mode of goodness. Kshirodakshai Vishnu is the Vishnu that expands as Paramatma within all living entities. So I do not doubt what the lecture was saying. It's just that there was no scriptural reference provided to this statement in the lecture. Therefore, I could not read anything further on this. Therefore, I request if we can please park this inquiry till we get a chance to discuss with a senior devotee or have time to find scriptural reference to this. Everybody okay with the plan? Silence. I don't know what silence means. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Question number 1. Can you please explain who is a householder preacher? And is this different from a sannyasi preacher? So you all are householders as well as preachers. Therefore, you all are household preachers, the Parivaja Karyas, as is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.4.13. Sannyasi and householder are different ashrams. Householders can be a preacher, and sannyasi can also be a preacher. Does that answer the inquiry? Divya?
Prabhuji, so if you're a preacher, I mean, I guess you don't have to be initiated, like.
You are correct. Anybody can be a preacher. You don't have to be initiated.
But then how will you be the qualified preacher, like the one who...
So you are in the process, right? So it's not that it's not that just initiation itself makes you qualified. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, anyone who knows the science of God can be a preacher. So initiation is a step required in the process of going back home to Godhead. But before initiation, you are preaching to purify yourself also. Otherwise, how will you get initiated? Because the spiritual master will ask before initiation, what all services are you engaged in? Meaning, what exactly is your nature? So, yes, initiation is a serious step, but initiation on itself is not a criteria to be a preacher. Divya?
So as long as you are following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings,
Yeah.
you can just share that with anybody, then you are qualified. You're an authentic source.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And I mean, this is explained many places. I'll give you one reference. Let me bring it up. So this is the references about Haridas Thakur, that Haridas Thakur is actually a Mohammedan, but he was chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra offenselessly. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made him the authority and Acharya to explain Hare Krishna Mahamantra to others, the importance of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, Divya, you can go to Bhagavatam 3.33.7. Let me point you.
2, 3, chapter 33.
33, 7, and read the second paragraph. The holy name has to be chanted.
The holy name has to be chanted to please the Supreme Lord and not for any sense gratification or professional purpose. If this pure mentality is there, then even though a person is born of a low family, such as a dog eater's, he is so glorious that not only has he purified himself, but he is quite competent to deliver others. He is competent to speak on the importance of the transcendental name, just as Thakura Haridasa did. He was apparently born in a family of Mohammedans, but because he was chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord offenselessly, Lord Chaitanya empowered him to become the authority or acharya of spreading the name. It did not matter that he was born in a family which was not following the Vedic rules and regulations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Prabhu accepted him as an authority because he was offenselessly chanting the name of the Lord.
Right. So we just read that it does not matter whether you are born in a low family. It's what makes you competent, that you are chanting offenselessly, that you know the science of God, then you are qualified to preach anyone. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji, and then the follow-up also, I know you said there are two different varnas or like lifestyle groups, right? So the householder, one thing that we learned in the last class was the reason you are in the householder ashram is because you see the difference between male and female, but someone in a sannyasi ashram does not. But even with that difference, both groups can still be preaching. That's fine.
Yeah. Both groups can still be preachers. It does not matter because they are trying to preach to the soul. And if you recall our discussion about Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttam Adhikari, so sannyasi generally would be at Uttam Adhikari level. But Prabhupada has said that even if you are at Uttam Adhikari level, you come down to Madhyam Adhikari level, because at Madhyam Adhikari, you are seeing both body and soul, and it is better to preach at the Madhyam Adhikari level. So sannyasi, yes, is one of the ashrams. So there are 4 ashrams, not just 2. We are just discussing 2 right now, being the sannyasi and grahastha. So these are ashrams. So what ashram does is, it gives you, according to your nature, what activity you should be doing to elevate yourself. But that does not mean that it does not stop you from being a preacher. And even if sannyasi, yes, he is not seeing the difference, or actually not supposed to see the difference between male and female, but it's still preaching. It's still a living entity that he's preaching to.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you for that.
Okay, very good follow-up inquiries. Thank you. Okay. Question number 2. Our devotee, Nitya has a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it's a quick follow-up question. But one must reach the stage of offenseless chanting in order to become a teacher. Is that how I would understand? I know we are engaged in the study of the scriptures, and our understanding is still at a neophyte level. So we'd read max to be a Parivara Chakra level?
So you don't have to be a pure devotee to be a preacher. So the degree of preaching will differ. You all are preachers. You all continue to be preachers. When you become a pure devotee, your degree of influence to whom you are trying to preach will vary than what it is right now. That's the only difference. But otherwise, right now, you all are householders. You all are Parivachakras, means preachers who don't need to worry about pronouncing the Sanskrit properly. You just preach and you will go back home to Godhead. Nitya?
Thank you, Prabhu. That is an amazing realization that what we understand, we can still discuss, without altering, the understanding, the meaning, to other people. But thank you.
Yeah, because you are still in the process also. So when you talk Krishna Katha, you are also getting purified. If you wait till the end to study all the scriptures, well, Prabhupada has said in Bhagavad Gita 17.15 that there is limitless volume of scripture. If you wait, you will wait forever. It's the process. So Bhakti Yoga process is the process as well as the goal. That you are doing the process of Bhakti Yoga of preaching, and ultimately you will attain Bhakti also. Bhakti Yoga is the process as well as the goal. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much.
Question number 2. Are devotees engaged in study of Srimad Bhagavatam called Parivajakaris? So devotees engage in study of Srimad Bhagavatam, meaning all of you all are Nirmat Saranam, means non-envious. We have discussed this at the start of Srimad Bhagavatam. And whatever you study in our classes, when you preach, then you also simultaneously become Parivajakaryas. Does that answer?
Yes, Prabhu.
Question number 3. Does twice born refer to those born by Garbhadan Samskar and receive sacred thread? So these two are two different things. Garbhadan Samskar is the process to follow so that there is greater likelihood of getting a Krishna conscious soul in the mother's womb. And those who receive first or second initiation are called twice born. Upon second initiation, the devotee receives the sacred thread to signify that he is 100% equal to a Brahmana. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu.
Question number 4. Did women receive instructions on Vedic scriptures? Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, has few chapters on Devahuti. These chapters describe Devahuti and brief mention about Shiva's wife Parvati as ideal wives. Kardama Muni married Devahuti and begot Lord Kapila. Lord Kapila is Krishna himself. Lord Kapila appeared to teach Sankhya philosophy to the world by teaching the Sankhya philosophy to his mother. So there is a direct example to this inquiry is that Lord Kapila taught Sankhya philosophy to Devahuti. And both Devahuti and Parvati were princesses. Still, they gave up all such princely lifestyle to live with mendicant husbands and serve their respective husbands nicely. Devahuti, as an ideal wife, served Kardamuni very nicely. Hence, simply by serving Kardama Muni became pleased by Devahuti's service, and Kardama Muni shared with Devahuti love of Godhead, because Kardama Muni was able to attain love of Godhead by his own elevated endeavor. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu, but did all women receive instruction in Vedic scriptures, or is it, or they just did not receive formal instruction?
So, what exactly is your inquiry? Scriptures have given some references, but what exactly is your inquiry, that why are you trying to dig something that is historical?
No, it was just a curiosity if formally women, because I saw that women were not required in the purport and reading, not required to undergo varnashrama except for marriage. And so I was also thinking, were they taught by their fathers or did receive any instruction like formally? It was just out of curiosity.
So why would you think women do not have to go through varnashram, even historically?
Prabhu, in the purport where we have that, the same where we have the twice born, I thought I saw that women and suitors did not need to undergo. That's what I thought I read, Prabhu. I must have been mistaken.
You can point, please. Where are you reading it? Okay, you can try to point later, and we can discuss.
I'll do it like later.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Question number 5. Verse 1.4.14 says, during the regime of Vaivashta Manu, there was an overlapping of the 28th round of the 4 millenniums, and the 3rd millennium appeared prior to the 2nd. So the inquiry is, not able to understand this. Can you please explain this overlapping? So you all answer this right now. We have these yuga names. What does Dwa in Dwarpa Yuga mean, and what does Tre in Treta Yuga mean? Everybody please answer.
Prabhu, Dva is 2 and Tre is 3.
Okay, make that.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I'm not sure, but somewhere it is like it resembles a cow and with 4 legs, and then Satyug had all 4 pillars, 4 legs of the cow, and
Yeah,
then
so that is upcoming discussion in Canto 1, chapter 17 and 18. That's a
okay.
different discussion. The word Dwa, what does Dwa in Dwarpa Yuga mean, and what does Tre in Treta Yuga mean?
Oh, I'm not sure, Prabhu.
Okay, rest of you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yeah, as Nitya Mataji mentioned that Dwa is 2 and Tre means 3.
Okay, very good, correct answer. So Dwa means 2 and Tre means 3. So before this 28th cycle of the 4 millenniums, the yuga cycles used to be, first yuga is Satyug, second yuga is Dwarpa Yuga, and the third yuga is Treta Yuga, and the fourth yuga is Kali Yuga. But in this 28th cycle, when Krishna appeared, to mark the speciality of Krishna's appearance, and because of the weight of Krishna, the Treta Yuga happened as the second yuga, and the Dwarpa Yuga happened as the third yuga. Just as, say, you have few items stacked together, and when you place some really heavy weight on top of these stacked items, the bottom items is pushed to the top, and the top item is pushed down. Similarly, and mind-bogglingly, because of the weight of Krishna's descent, the Treta Yuga, which was supposed to be the third yuga, happened as the second yuga, where we are living in right now. And the Dwarpa Yuga, which was supposed to be the second, happened to be the third yuga. Questions, comments, realizations? Divya.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So if the yugas got switched around like that when the Lord came, does that mean the quality? Because isn't it like it gets progressively worse? Like Satya is the best, and the next is little bad, and it's little worse, and then the last is the worst.
You are correct, and therefore I said mind-bogglingly. This is mind-boggling. How do you understand this? So in Bhagavatam, it only describes this part, that how the yugas switch.
We switch, and then the quality also switch, so that when
Rest of the details are not really provided. You can only speculate, and does not make sense to speculate. So
okay.
so you just realize the importance of Krishna's appearance and go with it. Even if you find the answer by digging, what exactly are you going to do? The yugas are so long, it doesn't really do anything to you. Your question is valid. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no, Prabhuji, I was just thinking that means if we just cross that really good Dwarpa and then enter this really bad Kali, like it's just crazy to think 5,000 years ago the world was maybe that good. and then all of a sudden it degenerated so fast.
So right now the Kali Yuga is not the bad Kali Yuga that is supposed to happen. So we are right now in the Satyuga of Kali Yuga, the first 10,000 years in the Kali Yuga from the time of appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as the Satyuga within Kali Yuga. So right now, whatever bad things you are seeing are just a tiny glimpse. I say tiny means real tiny. The real bad Kali Yuga, which is described in Canto 12, I don't even recommend anybody to read. It is horrible. The Satyuga right now where we are is meant for all devotees to go back home to Godhead rather than waiting for the real Kali Yuga to start. Divya?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Vimal Prabhu?
Same note. So the Mahabharata already happened in Treta when the yoga got switched.
No, Mahabharata happened afterwards. Mahabharata happened in the Dwarpa Yuga. Mansi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Krishna.
So now you mentioned that the our like first aim to go like right now before extreme Kali Yuga start, we need to go back to Godhead. But at the same time, we also say like if we go to the hell, if for the preaching, if we want to go to like if Krishna wants to go us to hell, we don't have any problem with that. So why we overemphasize on go back to Godhead like in the Krishna Loka?
So going back to Godhead does not mean that you are physically in Krishna Loka. Going back to Godhead means you are a pure devotee. Whether you are in the material world or in hell or in heaven or in Krishna Loka, as long as you are a pure devotee, that's what going back to Godhead means. And the perfect example is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was always a pure devotee. Even when Prabhupada was physically present and visible to all of us in the material world, Prabhupada was always at Godhead level. Modes of material nature never touched. So you are correct that Krishna may say, I want you to go to so-and-so hellish planet to preach. Well, it doesn't matter to you because you are pure devotee. You are always at Godhead. And actually, right now, Prahlad Maharaj is in hell, not because he is suffering, but you need so advanced level of pure devotee to be able to preach in hellish environment where spirituality is next to not being existing. Nancy?
Prabhu, I got the partial answer. Like why my like the second part of the question is why we overemphasize on go back to Krishna Loka,
We don't say
like
go back.
to the like
No,
new
no.
level.
No, we don't say physically go back. Going back to Godhead means become a pure devotee.
Okay, all right.
Whether you are in material world or whether Krishna says, I want you to come to live with me in Krishna Loka, well, that is a different choice. But pure devotee or going back to Godhead means you become a pure devotee.
Okay, Prabhuji, got it now. Thank you.
Question number 6. Why Vedas is for less intelligent people? They were supposed to be the highest knowledge in the past or not? So this is an upcoming discussion where Srila Narad Muni is going to chastise Srila Vyasadev big time. That why did Srila Vyasadev wrote Vedas? Because Srila Vyasadev is authority and Vedas coming from him, people will think that Vedas is the highest. But this is a common misconception where one thinks Vedas to be the highest. In reality, Vedas and Mahabharata are at Karma Kanda level. On the yoga ladder, Karma Kanda is at a very low level. And in Bhagavad Gita 2.49, Krishna says, Durena hi avram karma. Avram karma means abominable karma. So Krishna is calling Karma Kanda as abominable because Karma Kanda keeps one bound in the material world. Further, if you want to read Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7, Shivangi, 3.33.7, purport paragraph 1.
One moment. Three point 33.7 Prabhat. As it is stated in the previous verse, a person who has once offenselessly chanted the holy name of God becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. One should not be astonished by this statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not disbelieve or think, how by chanting the holy name of the Lord can one become a holy man to be compared to the most elevated Brahmana? To eradicate such doubts in the minds of unbelievers, this verse affirms that the stage of chanting the holy name of the Lord is not sudden, but the chanters have already performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifices. It is not very astounding, for no one in this life can chant the holy name of the Lord unless he has passed all lower stages, such as performing the Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, studying the Vedas, and practicing good behavior like that of the Aryans.
Okay, what did we just read? It says, no one in this life can chant holy name of the Lord unless he has passed all the lower stages, such as performing Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, studying Vedas. So studying Vedas is Karma Kanda level, is low level. Further, we have also covered in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, Dharma Projayita Kaitava, that religious activities that are materially motivated are cheating religion. Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest religion that teaches us the worship and devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna. Who can read 1.1.2 translation? Somebody quickly. Shivan, go ahead.
Prabhuji, I had a question. Is Srimad Bhagavatam also part of the Vedas? Like when answering this question?
Srimad Bhagavatam is not part of Veda. Srimad Bhagavatam is an assembly of bhakti-related subject matters from various scriptures. I'll give you an example. So Mahabharata is at Karma Kanda level. And Mahabharata has various chapters. One of the chapter is on Kunti Maharani's prayers. So Kunti Maharani's large life is at Karma Kanda level, except the last part where Kunti Maharani is reciting all these prayers. That prayers is at bhakti level. So Srimad Bhagavatam took those prayers from Mahabharata and put it into Srimad Bhagavatam as Canto 1, Chapter 8. Similarly, Bhishma Dev's entire life was at Karma Kanda level, except the last prayers that Bhishma Dev recited while lying on the bed of arrows. So those prayers are also there in Mahabharata. Bhishma Dev's entire life is there in Mahabharata, but only the last set of prayers is picked up from Mahabharata and placed in Srimad Bhagavatam as Canto 1, Chapter 9, because they are bhakti-related prayers. Shivangi?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, somebody quickly read 1.1.2 about the cheating religion and that Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest religion. Abhishek Prabhu.
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are purely pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truths uproot the threefold miseries. The beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by sage Vyasadev in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji. In your inquiry, you made this distinction that in Mahabharata, in this answer, that people showed karma kanda behavior and the bhakti part was taken. So this, I'm not able to understand why this difference of behavior in same person.
So karma kanda can also perform bhakti. Doesn't stop them. But the scripture, the large part of the scripture is on karma kanda. Vedas does have brief mention about bhakti, but that's very brief. By the time you reach that brief discussion, you are already completely entangled in karma kanda. Abhishek Prabhu?
But for these two devotees, we still understand that even though they performed most of their life at karma kanda, they were always pure devotees, or they were not?
You are correct. Both are pure devotees, but the life that they lived was for a particular reason at the karma kanda level. So what's the point in studying the karma kanda life? It doesn't help you. Only the bhakti related component is what is relevant for you to gain bhakti, which is placed in Srimad Bhagavatam as Canto 1, Chapter 8, Kunti Maharani prayers, and Canto 1, Chapter 9 as Bhishma Dev prayers. Abhishek Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. That was nice. Thank you.
Question number 7. Verse 1.4.25. Sacrifice mentioned in Vedas as the means of purification. Is sacrifice the most important part of Vedas? So almost all of you should be able to answer as to what is the essence of Vedas and what is the scriptural reference for this. Everybody quickly.
15 chapter.
Okay.
Verse.
What's the essence of Vedas?
Knowing Krishna.
To know Lord Krishna.
Very good. What's the reference? Chapter 15, what verse?
Prabhu said 15.16 to 18.
Okay, very good. Chapter 15, verse 16, 17, and 18 is known as Tri Shloki Gita, is the essence of Vedas. So what has happened is, in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Krishna says, Vedanta-krit Vedavid eva chaham, that I, Krishna, I am the compiler and knower of Vedas. Upon this Krishna's statement, because Arjuna knows that Vedas is huge, therefore Arjuna asks a question to Krishna, that can you please tell me what is the essence of Vedas since you have compiled the Vedas? Therefore Krishna gives the essence of Vedas in Bhagavad Gita 15.16, 17 and 18 verse, that the essence of Vedas is to know Krishna as the Purushottama and do devotional service. Krishna. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Last question for today. Why Vedas are made so difficult to understand if it has to cater to all society? So Vedas is huge. For most may need multiple lifetimes to complete just the studying part of Vedas. Implementing is separate. Plus, we have read in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.10 that people in Kali Yuga have short memory, less intelligence, etc. When Brahmaji studied Vedas, he had to study Vedas 3 times to come to the conclusion that the essence of Vedas is to know Krishna and to do devotional service to Krishna. So if Brahmaji, whose body is largely made out of intelligence, needs to read Vedas multiple times, then people in Kali Yuga with short memory, less intelligence, will obviously find it difficult. But Krishna has removed the difficult part, and Krishna has made it simple for us to understand Vedas in 3 verses we just discussed. That Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 16, 17, 18, the essence of Vedas is to know Krishna as the Purushottama and do devotional service to Krishna. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Divya?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When I was reading these purports related to Vedas and how Vyasadev made it easy for us, are the people who he's classing as less intelligent, are we considered less intelligent largely because we cannot understand a philosophical concept and we need a story or an example to understand it?
So most of the people in Kali Yuga have less intelligence and have less memory, which we read in 1.1.10, includes me also. So what less intelligent is referred to, which we are going to cover very soon, about the Vedas that Srila Narad Muni is going to chastise Srila Vyasadev big time, is referring to less intelligent as those who are following Karma Kanda. That's what the reference or less intelligent refers to in the discussion between Narad Muni and Vyasadev.
Okay, Prabhuji. I personally, if I hear something in a story format, I will retain it better than
Yeah, so
just the
everybody,
concept.
everybody understands things differently, no doubt about it. But
Okay.
it's that less intelligent is that you have the human body that can take you back home to Godhead with eternal life, but you are using it for sense gratification, which is available even to animals. That's why you are less intelligent, and you are miser that you are not using the human form of life properly.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, realizations before I give you stacking points on the screen? Okay, stacking points. You have 3 slides. This is slide number 1. Take a snapshot. Slide 2. And this is slide 3. So you all had some homework questions to answer. Anybody wants to quickly answer, and everybody should take turns to answer those questions instead of just 1 or 2 devotees always answering. Quickly, please. Somebody. Hare Krishna, you had a couple of questions to answer. Anybody prepared those? Shivangi.
I can answer one question, Prabhuji. What are the principles learned from the damsels' dealings with Sukadeva Goswami and Vyasadeva? We learned that those who are really elevated on the inside, they don't show off as being very highly elevated. They still try to obey the etiquettes of society, and The opposite is true for those who are beginners. They try to show themselves as being elevated even though they are not.
Okay, very good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, the second question I can answer.
Well,
What is the principles learned from Sukdev Goswami's stay at a householder's home? He would only stay there for a short time, enough actually to milk a cow. So the duration was so limited. He would, however, bless the fortunate householder and give them transcendental knowledge. So the principle is that once in the renounced order of life, they should not be taken away by the glamour of a material householder's life, and they should not become subservient to those worldly men.
okay, very good. Any questions, comments, realizations before we continue? Okay. So we will continue from Canto 1, Chapter 4, verse 26 onwards. So just a quick recap as to where we are. That Sutta Goswami is glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. That Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. Hear Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention. And Sukadeva Goswami is introduced. The incident of damsels happens that damsels did not cover themselves in front of naked Sukadeva Goswami because Sukadeva Goswami is a sannyasi. Sukadeva Goswami is a fully renounced sannyasi. While the damsels covered themselves in front of Srila Vyasadev, even though Srila Vyasadev was fully dressed, because Srila Vyasadev is a grahastha. If you differentiate between male and female, then you cannot, you should not be sannyasi. Grahastha who sees the difference. Srila Vyasadev was able to see the anomalies of the future through his transcendental vision. Therefore, for the welfare of all, Srila Vyasadev compiled all the Vedas, but he is not satisfied. So our class will seem very heavy today. Of course, I said this whole unit number 2 is heavy. So we will now continue this discussion where the focus of our today's discussion is on Srila Vyasadev's dissatisfaction. So chapter 4, part 3 is verses 26 to 31. Srila Vyasadev's dissatisfaction. Okay, let's see. Chandran Prabhu, verse 26 translation.
Hare Krishna. Verse 26. O twice born Brahmanas, still his mind was not satisfied, although he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of all people.
Yeah, read the purport and then 27 translation and purport as well.
Purport. Sri Vyasadeva was not satisfied with himself, although he had prepared literatures of Vedic value for the all-around welfare of the general mass of people. It was expected that he would be satisfied by all such activities, but ultimately he was not satisfied. Text 27. Thus, the sage being dissatisfied at heart at once began to reflect because he knew the essence of religion, and he said within himself, purport, the sage began to search out the cause of not being satisfied at heart. Perfection is never attained until one is satisfied at heart. This satisfaction of heart has to be searched out beyond matter. Hare Krishna.
So satisfaction is when one is satisfied in the heart. Important learning is if we find dissatisfaction in our heart, then become very vigilant and take shelter and guidance from a spiritual master. For Srila Vyasadev, his spiritual master, Srila Narad Muni, came by himself. But for us, we have to go to a spiritual master. This is the difference here. Those advanced in Krishna consciousness, they will be able to understand the reason of dissatisfaction. And those advanced in Krishna consciousness, meaning Uttamadhikari, who knows sadhana and the goal, therefore they will be able to guide. For me, or anyone who is lower than Uttamadhikari level, will need to go to spiritual master. Meaning, sadhaka has to go to spiritual master. Kunal Prabhu, 28, 29 and 30 translations.
Hare Krishna. So 28 and 29. I have under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worship the Vedas, the spiritual master and the altar of sacrifice. I have also abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the expansion of the Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudras and other friends of the twice born can see the path of religion. Text 30. I am feeling incomplete, though I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. 31. This may be because I did not.
Hold on. So Srila Vyasadev has followed Brahmacharya Vrata properly. He has worshipped Vedas properly. He has worshipped Guru properly. Still he is unsatisfied. Now, here's a question for all of you. Everyone try to answer. Does this make sense to you all that Srila Vyasadev, who is Krishna himself, Srila Vyasadev compiled Vedas, Mahabharata, etc., but he is feeling unsatisfied? Srila Vyasadev is incarnation of God. How can incarnation of God be unsatisfied? Does this make sense to you all? Everybody please try to answer. Shivangi.
Prabhuji, I may be wrong about this, but isn't he a Shakti Avesha avatar? So he's like a different person. He's not.
So I had explained earlier that Shakti Avesha avatar can be incarnation of Krishna, meaning Srila Vyasadev is incarnation of Krishna, whereas other Shakti Avesha avatars, say Srila Prabhupada, is at the Jiva Tattva level. So Shakti Avesha avatar is not a blanket category that you can apply. You have to go according to the individual. So Srila Vyasadev is Krishna himself.
He's a direct incarnation of Krishna, Prabhuji?
Correct.
Okay. Then isn't the answer, we've always known the answer is that it's because he didn't write about Krishna's pastimes when he compiled.
Okay, but here you have a very good point. But here my question is, how can God be unsatisfied? Abhishek Prabhu.
And this is confusing actually.
Very good. Chandan Prabhu.
Not satisfied of the services to the is to his expectation.
Yeah, but he already said that he followed proper steps. He compiled Vedas properly. So there was nothing wrong in Vedas. It's not that what he wrote Vedas was something insufficient. No, no, Vedas he wrote properly. Still he is feeling unsatisfied. How come? Nitya?
Prabhu, his dissatisfaction was not being able to guide us. He has not given us what we need to go back. So the Vedas did not cover the most important thing, that is Bhagavan and how we go back with bhakti. So that was his dissatisfaction.
Okay, very good. So let me answer. So the ultimate achievement is different. He got everything from Vedas. He compiled Vedas properly. But Vedas don't give you the ultimate achievement, which is love of God. Therefore, there was a vacuum in Srila Vyasadev's heart. So Shivangi and Nitya correctly answered. Now, try to get out of the box and do not try to repeat Srimad Bhagavatam verses or just the words. Now, question is, why was Srila Vyasadev feeling incomplete if he is incarnation of God? Srila Vyasadev has described glories of the Lord in other Puranas, but still he was feeling incomplete. Hence the question is, what could be the reason from some other perspective beyond the philosophical answer? Now, Srila Vyasadev cannot make mistakes. There is no flaw in the Vedas that he has compiled. People are interested in sense gratification. So as part of Vedas, Srila Vyasadev gave certain concessions as well as certain prohibitions. What people did with this is that people rejected the prohibitions and accepted the concessions. This became the cause of moroseness for Srila Vyasadeva, as well as the absence of devotional aspect in the Vedas. So even if incarnation of God, if he is not connected to Krishna, then one cannot be satisfied. Even if one raises himself to a very high platform, but if he is not connected to Krishna, one cannot be satisfied. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given a commentary about this dissatisfaction. It should be understood that Srila Vyasadeva is incarnation of God, was feeling dissatisfaction. This inspiration of dissatisfaction was infused in Srila Vyasadeva by Sri Krishna himself. Now question may become, why? Because Lord Sri Krishna wanted this Srimad Bhagavatam to appear. Srimad Bhagavatam is as good as Krishna himself. Srimad Bhagavatam is cream of all Vedas, all Vedic scriptures, not just Vedas. So I already gave a couple examples about Kunti Maharani and Bhishma Dev. Now, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapters 13 and 14 about Brahmaji getting bewildered. Brahmaji stole the cows and calves and gopas from Krishna. For 1 year, Krishna expanded himself as cows, calves, and all these gopas. When Balram saw how cows were attached to the old cows, meaning the Krishna expansion, the cows had given birth to new calves. Still, the cows are so much affectionate to the old cows which were stolen by Brahmaji, which Krishna had expanded himself as. And same for gopis. The gopis' affection for their older children was increasing, just like they had affection for Krishna. This put Balram into confusion. So these kinds of pastimes are enacted by Krishna, where his potency is acting. Similarly, a vacuum was created by Krishna in the heart of Srila Vyasadev, not due to ignorance, not due to less position of God, not because of any defect in Vyasadev. Rather, Krishna wanted to infuse such despondency so that Krishna can cause the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Krishna himself. Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the crest jewel of all Vedic literature. This is how we should meditate upon a question like this. So every time I give you a question, meditate upon a question like this, that ask Krishna seriously, Krishna, what is going on? How come? What exactly is your plan? So while you are doing your japa, your mind gets distracted. Use this approach to ask the question to Krishna. I will give you some open-ended questions as from time to time, as well as from the previous few words. There is one very important key word coming up, which should stick on you when Srila Narad Muni is going to chastise Srila Vyasadev. So we will soon read about all this. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna, Bhai.
Krishna.
So this can also be understood in like Krishna feeling certain emotions, like him being worried for, like sometimes other incarnations are worried or confused, not confused, but something what you explained in Balram and Vyasadev's case. So for
Yeah.
Leela,
So
he may
Krishna,
do.
Krishna is never confused. Others get confused because he infuses this confusion into them, just as Krishna infused this dissatisfaction in Vyasadeva. Confusion is not the right word, but dissatisfaction in Vyasadeva, as well as the curiosity in Balram, that how come all these gopas and all these calves, their mothers seem to be much more affectionate. Abhishek Prabhu?
No, I'm not clear here because Krishna also sometimes in his pastimes he displays things which are very humanly but not godly, and it's not unreal, right?
So Krishna displays humanly pastimes for our learning. There are many examples. For example, when Krishna was with Rukmani Devi, Krishna will wake up early morning and sit down to meditate. Even though he has nothing to meditate upon, he himself is the object of meditation. But to teach ordinary people that do not be attached to wife, do not be attached to comfortable bed. No, wake up early morning before Mahutra period, and during Mahutra period, Brahma Muhurta period, do your meditation. Or when Krishna as Lord Kapila. He taught the Sankhya philosophy, and then his purpose was accomplished. So he left and he took sannyas. This was again to teach. So these humanly activities of Krishna, they are meant for teaching. Abhishek Prabhu, does that
So
answer?
what about cases when Krishna is worried about the protection of his devotees?
So he's just playing. That's a leela. Krishna is always in the heart of his devotees and he's always protecting them. He's just playing a part. He's just playing a leela. All right. Malti, are you able to read 31 translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes. 31. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to the perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. Hare Krishna.
So Srila Prabhupada writes that without devotional service, one will feel dissatisfied. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. So this dissatisfaction infused in Srila Vyasadev. I did not make it up. It's coming up from the purport. We'll soon be reading this. So now part 4 of this chapter is verses 32 and 33. Title is Narad Muni visits Srila Vyasadev. Mansi, 32 translation and purport.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 32. As mentioned before, Narad reached to the cottage of Krishna uh, Dvepayana Vyasa on the bank of the Saraswati, just as Vyasadev was regarding his defects.
Regretting.
Vyasadev was regretting his defects. The purport by the Srila Prabhupada. The vacuum felt by the Vyasadeva was not due to his lack of knowledge. Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord, to which the monist has no access. The monist is not content amongst the Paramhansa, the most perfect of the renounced order of life. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narrations of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Although Vyasadeva was an empowered divinity, he still felt dissatisfaction because in none of his work were the transcendental activities of the Lord properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the heart of Vyasadeva, and thus he felt the vacuum as explained above. It is definitely expressed herewith that without the transcendental loving service of the Lord, everything is void. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, everything is tangible without any separate attempt at fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculations. Hare Krishna.
So the dissatisfaction or the vacuum in Srila Vyasadev's heart was infused by Krishna himself, so that Krishna can cause the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the crest jewel of all Vedic literature. Does that answer the inquiry about Srila Vyasadev's dissatisfaction?
Yes, Prabhu.
Matan Prabhu, 33 translation.
Okay, 33. At the auspicious arrival of Sri Narada, Sri Vyasadeva caught up respectfully and worshipped him, giving him veneration equal to that given to Brahmaji, the creator.
So, a straightforward verse that at that time Narad Muni appeared, and Srila Vyasadev is the disciple of Srila Narad Muni, so he is giving respect to his spiritual master. Questions, comments, realizations before we start the next chapter? Okay, chapter 5. Meghna Gupta has a question.
No, Prabhu, we are good to start chapter 5, yes.
Kunal Prabhu.
So, Prabhuji, this friends of the twice born, it is mentioned a few times. What is twice born, Prabhuji?
So, twice born refers to initiated devotees, and friends of the twice born refers to those who are born in the family of initiated people, but they themselves are not following the ritual. So, for example, Brahmana is a perfect example to follow. That somebody is a Brahmana, he has got initiation and he has become qualified to be a Brahmana. And the son of a Brahmana is not following the processes and the rules and regulations properly, but he still is born in initiated Brahmana family. Therefore, this special category is given that, okay, we understand you are somehow connected to a Brahmana, but you yourself are not a Brahmana. Therefore, it says that you are friend of Brahmana, or can be family also, but you yourself are not a Brahmana. Kunal Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Chapter 5 is titled Narad Muni's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam to Srila Vyasadev, divided in 4 parts. Part 1 is verses 1 to 7. Narad Muni inquires and Srila Vyasadev responds. So part 2 is verses 8 to 22. Narad Muni reveals to Srila Vyasadev the importance of describing Krishna's pastimes. Part 3, verses 23 to 31. Narad Muni narrates his past life. Part 4, verses 32 to 40. Narad Muni advises Srila Vyasadev. Everybody got the parts, chapter division? So the first 9 verses are very straightforward. Then it will become very heavy. Meghna Gupta, are you able to read verse 1 translation?
Hare Krishna. So, text 1, Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishi amongst the Brahmanas, Vedavyas.
The Narad Muni is smiling because Srila Narad Muni knew Srila Vyasadev's disappointment. Therefore, Srila Narad Muni will also give medicine to Srila Vyasadev. Shivangi, verse 2 translation.
Hare Krishna. Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parashara, Narada inquired, "Are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization?"
So identifying with body and mind as objects of self-realization is the cause of Srila Vyasadev's dissatisfaction. It's not that Srila Vyasadeva is identifying with his body and mind, but those who are identifying with body and mind, meaning materialistic people, they will follow Srila Vyasadev's word and they think they are following some high authority, when actually it is actually entangling those materialistic people all the more with their body and mind. This is what is causing the dissatisfaction to Srila Vyasadeva. Vimal Prabhu, 3 and 4 translation.
Your inquiries were full and your studies were also well fulfilled, and there is no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work. The Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences, elaborated, explained. Text 4. You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge of derived their form. Why should you be despondent in the spite of all this, thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
So Srila Vyasadev's dissatisfaction was certainly not due to lack of sufficient knowledge. Narad Muni himself confirmed, no, you have written Vedas properly. You have compiled Mahabharata properly. There's no defect. Therefore, these are not the causes of your dissatisfaction. Abhishek Prabhu, verse 5, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Text 5. Srila Vyasadev said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge, due to your being the offspring of one, Brahma, who is self-born without mundane father and mother. Purport. In the material world, everyone is engrossed with the idea of identifying the body or the mind with the self. As such, all the knowledge disseminated in the material world is related either with body or with the mind, and that is the root cause of all despondencies. This is not always detected, even though one may be greatest erudite scholar in materialistic knowledge. It is good, therefore, to approach a personality like Narada to solve the root cause of all despondencies. Why Narada should be approached is explained below.
So worldly pleasure for materialistic people is defined as whatever body and mind wants. Therefore, by Srila Vyasadeva, by compiling Vedas, Srila Vyasadeva is showing the way to gratify body and mind. So Vyasadeva himself is not identifying with body and mind. But because the Vedas is primarily at Karma Kanda level, it basically is identifying how to gratify your mind and body. Srila Vyasadev gave concessions and prohibitions. People rejected the prohibitions and they just accepted the concessions and went on to enjoying the mind and body all the way more and more. Verses 6 and 7 translations are straightforward. The chapter is going to become heavy very soon. Divya, 6 and 7 translations.
Sixth translation. My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. 7 translation. Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive supersoul. Please therefore find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows.
Straightforward that what we all should also be doing is what Srila Vyasadeva is teaching as a disciple, that we need to inquire with our spiritual master that what is wrong with me? Help me get out of this entanglement. Questions, comments, realizations before we start the next part?
Hare Krishna, right? Previously, it was described that Mahabharata was composed for less intelligent people, and here it, like as you described, that it is for the same reason that it has both prohibition and concessions, and people took to different paths rather than the correct path. So it was not working, like it was not working as they thought it would do.
So what's exactly your inquiry?
This is this correct? Because it is written that Vyasadev composed Mahabharata for less intelligent.
Okay, let me explain. So he composed it properly for less intelligent people. Not only Vyasadev compiled Vedas. Vedas was actually one. What Vyasadev did was he saw the future anomalies and he saw that people will have less memory, less intelligence. Therefore, Vyasadev divided the Vedas in 4 for ease of understanding. So his compilation was proper, except the focus of Vedas and Mahabharata is at Karma Kanda level, means the focus, large focus, is how do you satisfy your body and mind in the material world. That's the large focus. That's what caused the dissatisfaction. Abhishek Prabhu?
Thank you.
Kunal Prabhu?
So probably like in ISKCON, at least I am kind of dissatisfied most of the time. So when we go to a spiritual master or some senior devotee, they say that your chanting is not correct, you should chant more intensely. I think that is the basic line which is said mostly in ISKCON about dissatisfaction. So is it like mainly chanting, or there are other things that we are not doing correctly? That's why we are dissatisfied.
So chanting is prime, that chanting has to be offense-less so that you can get purified. And further, we also have to follow the 4 regulative principles to stop further impurities. And we also have to disentangle ourselves from the material world and just do bare minimum in the material world just to keep the body and soul together. So you cannot say that, okay, I will improve my chanting. Simultaneously, I also want to become a millionaire and I also want to play stock exchange and I also want to do all these sorts of things to earn money, to enjoy. Well, there'll be a conflict. So yes, chanting is a starting point to realize that you are not this body, you are a soul. You should be simply focused on engaging in devotional service, which is a common factor for many. Therefore, you probably will hear this from many. Simultaneously, we also have to reduce our entanglement with family and in the material world. Kunal Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. Everybody on the same page?
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so part 2 is verses 8 to 22. Title is Narad Muni reveals to Srila Vyasadev the importance of describing Krishna's pastime. Nitya, verse 8 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sri Narada said, "You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless."
So Narad Muni is saying to Srila Vyasadev that you thought you were doing welfare for all people by compiling Vedas and Mahabharata. But actually you have not glorified the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore you are dissatisfied. If you are feeling dissatisfied from your own compilation, that means people who will read your compilation of literature of the Vedas and Mahabharata will also feel dissatisfied. Chandran Prabhu, verse 9 translation and the purport, last 2 lines.
Hare Krishna. Text 9. Although Grace said, you have very broadly described the 4 principles beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality, Vasudeva. Purport.
The last 2 lines, the conclusion is?
Oh, the last line. Narada recommended to Vyasadeva that
start with. It says the conclusion is that in order to maintain.
The conclusion is that in order to maintain the status quo of the Brahma Bhuta state, as also to increase the degree of transcendental realization, Narada recommended to Vyasadeva that he, Vyasadeva, should now eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. This would cure him from gross despondency. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so Narad Muni gives the solution that describe the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead again and again and again. Okay, the next few verses are key memorization verses and very important verses. Let's see who read. Kunal Prabhu, verse 10 translation.
Hare Krishna. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there.
So remember this Sanskrit word. You go to the 3rd line. Tad Vyasam Tirtham, which means place of pilgrimage for crows. Also referring to as fruitative workers. So mundane literature, even if it is beautifully composed, focuses on the body. Any descriptions which are devoid of Supreme Personality of Godhead are lifeless, are inauspicious, are contaminated. But devotees of the Lord are defined as Hamsa. Hamsa means swan. They reside in water besides lotus. Similarly, devotees who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, such devotees want to attain the abode of the Lord. Such Paramhamsa do not take part in mundane literature. Otherwise, I am becoming a crow. Whosoever reads mundane worldly literature, Tad Vyasam Tirtham is a place of pilgrimage for crow. I will become a crow. So what's the difference between crow and a swan? What's the comparison being done here? Swan will not go to find his food in a garbage or dustbin, even if the garbage or dustbin is filled with halwa. Similarly, devotees will always connect with scripture on the pastimes of Krishna, and devotees are not interested in mundane literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is that literature for the swan-like devotees. Therefore, devotees do not derive any pleasure in reading mundane literature. It is the crows that go to the garbage to find their food. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada uses very strong words to condemn such mundane literatures. Kunal Prabhu, read the purport, first paragraph.
Hare Krishna. So, crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitude. The fruitive worker or passionate men are compared to crows, whereas the all-perfect saintly persons are compared to the swans. The crows take pleasure in the place where garbage is thrown out, just as the passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and women and places for gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasure in the places where crows are assembled for conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty, where there are transparent reservoirs of water, nicely decorated with stems of lotus flower in variegated colors of natural beauty. That is the difference between the two classes of birds.
Right, so Prabhupada clearly distinguishes between fruitive materialistic worker as crows and devotees as swans as Paramhamsa, because devotees are interested in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, whereas materialistic people are going at garbage, all this news, sports, politics, whatnot. Kunal Prabhu, read the last two paragraphs, which starts with literary men, social literary men.
Social literary men, scientists and mundane poets, theoretical philosophers and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Sridhara, this is the pleasure of the prostitute hunters. But literatures which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramhansas who have grasped the essence of human activity.
All right. Questions, comments, realizations. Okay. Verse number 11 is also a
Hare
key.
Krishna Prabhu.
Abhishek Prabhu, go ahead.
Sorry. Uh, this is very heavy, but I am not clearly seeing the correlation with Sridhar Swami says this is the pleasure of prostitute hunters. Can you explain something?
So anything that is at the material level is referring to bodily level. So what do prostitute hunters do? They are trying to enjoy at bodily level. That's the comparison being done here. Abhishek Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Verse number 11 is also a very, very important and a key memorization verse. Verse number 10 we did not chant. Would you all like to recite verse number 11 in Sanskrit? It's a very beautiful recitation as well.
Prabhuji.
Okay. So I will first recite verse number 11. And you will notice that this verse number 11 was there at the start, I think in the preface or introduction, one of the two places. It's a very important verse. So 1.5.11. Tadvag visargo janata agaha viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadvati api. Namani anantasya yasya ankitani yat shravanti gayanti kranati sadava. Unmute yourself and recite one line after me, please. Tadvag visargo janata agaha viplavo
Visargo janata
Viplavo
yasmin pratishlokam abadvati api.
Yasmin pratishlokam abhivati api.
Namani anantasya yasya ankitani yat
Namani anantasya yaso ankitani yat
shravanti gayanti grananti sadava.
shravanti gayanti granadva sadava.
Malti translation.
Hare Krishna. On the other hand, the literature, which is full of description of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastime, etc., of the ultimate Supreme Lord, is the different creation, full of transcendental words, directed toward bringing about the revolution in the impious lives of this world, misdegraded civilization. Such transcendental, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are truly honest.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
So on the other hand, so in verse number 10, we talked about mundane literature. And now comes, on the other hand, Vedic literature, even if it is imperfectly composed, can cause revolution because every shloka is glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if it is not chanted properly, even if there are grammatical errors, although there are no such errors, but such literature like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, they are going to bring a revolution in the impious lives of these people. Devotees, Paramhamsa, are very much eager to hear. Either they are eager to hear from someone or they speak so that others can hear. If there is no one around, then they spontaneously sing the glories of the Lord. Now, Janata Agaha Viplavo, the very first line. Janata means people in general, and Agaha means sins, and Viplavo means revolution. That by spreading literature such as Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, which are full of description of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes of the Lord, this will bring a revolution in the impious lives of world civilization. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada focuses on this point that there is a great need to spread the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. Malti, if you want to please read faster pace, last two paragraphs, which starts when there are too many materialistic activities.
When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or nation attack another person or nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of this age of Kali and quarrel. This atmosphere is already polluted of all description, and everyone know it well. There are so many unwanted idea of justification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state of censor of sense literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leader of the public literature. Yet it is the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. The people in general want to read. That is the natural instinct. But because their mind are polluted, they want such literature under the circumstances. Transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy, but we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for documenting reading of the the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are considering poison to society will then automatically cease. Second paragraph to that. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter.
So Prabhupada gives the analogy of jaundice, that people do not have taste of hearing such Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam like literatures. But whether or not you like it, sugarcane juice is the only solution for jaundice-like disease, and therefore you have to take it, even if you don't like it. Questions, comments, realizations, Nitya?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, why does it say at the end of the purport that Srimad Bhagavatam presented with so many faults that
Yeah. There's a very long discussion on this point, that when originally Srila Prabhupada was translating the scriptures, and he asked one of his disciples to read Bhagavatam critically and find errors and correct all these errors. So this devotee who was given this task, he has written a book. His book is titled somewhat like Editing the Uneditable. Srimad Bhagavatam is uneditable. But Srila Prabhupada said, you should still edit. So before he took up this task, he said, Prabhupada, how can I edit Srimad Bhagavatam? It is uneditable. And Srila Prabhupada says, no, read very critically so that there is not even a single error in this scripture. Because if materialistic people find error in Srimad Bhagavatam, they anyway don't have taste, and if they find error, they will say, no, Bhagavatam is just like any other scripture available in the material world that that also has defects. Although there is no defect in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is using this statement in humility, that even if you don't chant it properly, just as we discussed about the Parivajakras, that even if you don't pronounce it properly, like how we chanted this verse, I'm pretty sure I'm not perfect in reciting this. I can actually play the recording of one of the devotee from Mayapur, who recites this verse very beautifully. I did not recite it nicely. So not reciting it nicely, you can call it as a fault of me, not of Bhagavatam. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying that even if you don't recite it properly, it still is full of positive benefit to the reciter as well as to the hearer. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Mansi, verse 12 translation.
Yes, verse 12. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of the fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and uh, trans, transient, transient, transient by the nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord?
So Srila Prabhupada says fruitive work is always painful. Fruitive work can be fruitful only when it is made subservient to the devotional service of the Lord. By offering fruitive work to the Lord, which is there in Bhagavad Gita 3.30, that offer everything to the satisfaction of Vishnu, then there is no bondage, because 5.29 describes Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasvam, that the Supreme Lord is the only enjoyer. Otherwise, fruitive work will cause bondage, described in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. In this 1.5.12, is speaking that in any field of activities we are in, that work must be for glorification of Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Sakam Karma is offered to the Lord, then it becomes Nishkam. Some Gyanis, by cultivation of knowledge, may have freed themselves from anarthas or upadhis of this world, that they can burn out reactions to all fruitive activities, and they can become free from bindings of this world. But if their such activity is devoid of the infallible Lord, such knowledge does not look good because is not in glorification of the Lord, and such jnanis, they end up falling down. So even though the jnanis have attained the stage of naishkarmya, means self-realization, being freed from fruitive work by study of the Vedas, Upanishad, etc., they deliberate on the knowledge of the scriptures, and this is how they come to this realization that I am not this body. But they still fall down even after liberation because their activities are without glorification of the Lord. In later part of Srimad Bhagavatam, it goes on to describe about these jnanis, that the root cause of the jnanis is not resolved, meaning they haven't come to the point of being servant to the Lord, therefore they fall down. If such a Brahman Gyan is not helping one to attain moksha, then what to speak of Sakam Karma or even Nishkam Karma, which is not offered to the Lord. Therefore, perform all activities of life as glorification of the Lord. And bhakti is superior to the Brahman Gyan as well as Sakam and Nishkam Karma. Everybody on the same page?
Prabhu, can you please elaborate on this practical application of this point? I know we talked about it in Bhagavad Gita, but in everyday life, how do we use all activities as a glorification when we are doing our job? I know we start with our sadhana and then we remember God through the day, but and then I guess also the monetary benefits of our job we can devote to God.
You already answered. So you already answered, and we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 3.30 and 8.7. So 3.30 is post-action, means you are first doing your karma and then you are offering the results to God. Let's say you donate something or whichever way works for you. And then 8.7 is pre-action meditation, that before doing an activity, while doing the activity, you are remembering God. That way you are connected with God. And as you correctly pointed out, that you start your day by doing your sadhana. That way you have already established a connection with the Lord. Then all those people who are hurting you in the material world, you will not see them as enemies. Rather, you will see them as parts and parcels of the Lord and try to be compassionate with them. And this way you develop the positive qualities. So when you see somebody as parts and parcel of the Lord, well, you are seeing them, or you are seeing through them Vishnu within them. Nitya, does that help you?
Prabhu, and also the monetary compensation from our work, that also 50% should be devoted to God.
So that's the ideal standard, which is described by Rupa Goswami, that you should, whatever you are earning, 50% is supposed to be your goal. If you are not at 50% right now, does not mean you have to be dejected. You just have to work in that direction and keep growing in that direction. Nitya?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Dipanshu Prabhu, 13 and 14 translations.
Hare Krishna. O Vyasadev, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are firm in woe and situated in truthfulness, and thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage. Verse 14. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms, names, and results to agitate the mind as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. Hare Krishna.
A pretty straightforward verse, that both verses, that Narad Muni is giving the advice to Vyasadev to describe the pastimes of the Lord, because anything you describe which is devoid of Krishna will agitate the mind. Srila Vyasadev has described transcendental realization by fruitive activities and speculative knowledge. Srila Vyasadev has recommended the worship of so many demigods in the Vedas. The result is that people in general are puzzled, just as one of the inquiry was, why is Vedas difficult in our discussion at the start of today's class? Because it's like people get puzzled with so many different ways of description. And Narad Muni is stressing this particular defect in the Vedic literatures compiled by Srila Vyasadev, which is the defect in Vedas and Mahabharata, which are devoid of Krishna's pastimes and are more focused on fruitive activities and speculative knowledge. Therefore, Srila Narad Muni is emphasizing to describe everything in relation with Supreme Personality of Godhead and no one else. The last verse for today, verse number 15, is a pretty heavy verse. The visual that you have on screen tells what the verse is about. You can see how Narad Muni is chastising Vyasadev, and look at the face of Vyasadev. So you can see in the previous verse, we discussed that how Vyasadev gave Narad Muni an elevated seat to sit down, and Vyasadev is sitting in a lower seat. This is the etiquette of the disciple. And look at the face of Vyasadev. He's going to get chastised in verse number 15 with a very heavy word, Jugupsitam. So everybody has read. Whosoever wants to read 15 translation, quickly please read.
Prabhu, I can.
Yeah.
The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibition.
So if you go to the Sanskrit word, the very first word, Jugupsitam. Jugupsitam means verily condemned. So you already have so many Sanskrit words to use in your meditation. And we have this vision that you have on screen that Narad Muni is chastising Srila Vyasadev, is using this word, very strong word, Jugupsitam, verily condemned. So this very important point that Srila Narad Muni is saying to Vyasadev, that people will follow this lower path described in Vedas as the path of religion because you, Vyasadev, you have described, because you are an authority. Therefore, Srila Narad Muni says, Jugupsitam, this is verily condemned. This is the compromising spirit of Srila Vyasadev is verily condemned. People in general are naturally inclined to enjoy. And you, Vyasadev, you have encouraged them in that way, in the name of religion. This is verily condemned. Under your instructions, people will accept such activities in the name of religion, and they will hardly care for the prohibitions. That's what I explained earlier, that people rejected all these prohibitions. Such diversion of human energy results in misguided civilizations because people will accept Srila Vyasadeva as authority and people will think this is religion, resulting in that they will not make any spiritual progress. Therefore, this is abominable. Therefore, Srila Narad Muni used a very strong language here. Jugupsitam. This compromising spirit of Srila Vyasadeva is verily condemned. People will not accept advice on higher truth for higher elevation, stating that Srila Vyasadeva has given their religion, says this, that enjoy at the material, bodily and mind level. Therefore, I will continue because people anyway like to enjoy. And they say, oh, I am following some religion described in Vedas. This compromising spirit of Srila Vyasadeva is verily condemned by the spiritual master Srila Narad Muni. Therefore, look at Narad Muni, how he is pointing his finger to Srila Vyasadeva. And look at Srila Vyasadeva's face, how dejected he is. So an analogy is given. It's a very, very important and very heavy analogy is given in the purport that an expert physician does not compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not take at all. So just take an example of diabetes. So diabetes patient should not take sugar at all. So the physician cannot tell him take little. No, it is going to cause lot of problems for already compromising situation. Therefore, Narad Muni chastises Srila Vyasadeva big time with this very important word, Jugupsitam. You should have this word Jugupsitam ringing in your head while you are doing your japa. So you got three important words today, or set of words. First was in 5.10 about Tad Vyasam Tirtham, that this is a place of pilgrimage of crows. Can use all these words while you are doing your japa to bring your mind back. Another you got in 1.5.11 as Janata Agaha Viplavo, that Srimad Bhagavatam will bring about a revolution. And then you got Jugupsitam, verily condemned. I will pause here for any questions, comments, realizations.
I have a question. So Srila Vyasadeva is incarnation of Krishna. So he is condemning Krishna. How authority he is like Narad Muni?
Sorry, I didn't fully understand your question.
Like who's the higher in power? Like here is the Narad Muni is in higher in authority than Vyasadeva?
So here, yes, you are correct. That here the role is Narad Muni is spiritual master of Vyasadev. So definitely Narad Muni has higher authority over the disciple. So Vyasadev is incarnation of God, but he is playing a particular role. You have to understand that part also. Madan Prabhu?
Yeah, okay.
Very good. Abhishek Prabhu?
Can you speak a little more on this process of meditation during japa, which you just described?
Yeah. So when you chant, I don't know about you, my mind keeps wandering. So you use these important words to bring your mind back, which will also make you remember these discussions that we are having. Although not an ideal, the ideal should be I should be simply listening to my own japa. But I am not there. I am in somewhere in between or trying to hear my japa. I want some help. So I am using the help of Krishna's words, either from Bhagavad Gita or from Bhagavatam, that every time my mind distracts, I will remember these important words. So far I have given you so many important words. You remember Jugupsitam, and you very easily remember the visual that you have in front of you, as well as the discussion about verily condemned or Janata Agaha Viplavo, that Srimad Bhagavatam will bring a revolution. So what are you doing? You're remembering Srimad Bhagavatam. While you are doing your japa, you use this to bring your mind back and focus on listening. So the idea is to listen to your japa, but I need help to bring my mind back, and I'm using Bhagavad Gita verses or important terms to remember and bring my mind back. Abhishek Prabhu, does that help you? Very important inquiry.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay, so we are past our time, and this purport for verse number 15 is also pretty heavy and important. Would you like to spend few more minutes to read now, or would you like to just read by yourself?
I can read by myself, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay, so definitely read all the purports, not just 15. 15 is definitely important purport about what we are discussing. The analogy that I described for verse number 15 is also described in the purport. So please do read. Any questions, comments, realizations before I give you spiritual endeavor? Okay. So standard homework for all classes without me saying is to read the verses and the purports of all the verses that we covered. So today we have covered up to 1.2.15. Second, I gave you many Sanskrit words to use while your meditation. And now I have questions for you to answer. Next class, everybody should try to answer. First question is, why was Srila Vyasadev dissatisfied? Comes from chapter 5, verses 2 to 9. Second, explain Tad Vyasam Tirtham comes from 1.5.10. Next, explain Janata Agaha Viplavo comes from 1.5.11. Next, explain Jugupsitam, compromising spirit of Srila Vyasadev, comes from 1.5.15. And for the next class, please read chapter 5, verses 16 to 40. These are very heavy verses. We will cover in 2 classes. Is that more than enough to keep you occupied throughout your week?
Yes, Prabhupada.
Okay, thank you for tolerating for about 7-8 more minutes. Are we okay to stop here?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.